Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gorkshodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gora Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Brinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Anant Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī Ki Jai. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Sarartha Darshani Vritti Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Prabrajantamanupeta Krityang Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedus Tang Sarva Bhutta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Shrinvatang Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam Nashta Prayeshvavadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvang Nayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितराङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम् भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Madhavi Didi, Dandavat pranams are Seshwari Mataji, Yashoda Didi, Gargraj Ji, and Indira Mataji. Dandavat pranams to all of you. I had I had a bad night last night. I don't know why, but I just couldn't fall asleep. And so I'm a little bit spacey right now. But yeah, we'll get to this. Well, I'm going to read the Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura's commentary for the first verse in Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī. And then afterwards, I'm going to read an article by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura on the glories of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's teachings and the method to approach them, the qualification needed to approach those teachings. All right, so let's begin. Oh, Pradyumna Prabhu, you read that article, huh? The one that Vrindaranya wrote. Yeah, it was a good article. Okay. 1 second. Okay, let's just read this verse so that we. Shri Bhadarayani Ruvacha Bhagavana Pita Ratri Sharadotfula Malika Viksharantu Manaschakre Yoga Mayam Upashrita. Shri Shukadev Goswami said, when Bhagavan Shri Krishna saw the unparalleled splendor of the autumn night, beautified by blossoming jasmine flowers, he was inspired to perform the love play of Ras Lila to fulfill the desire of his beloved gopis. Thus, although he is complete in 6 opulences, he took shelter of his internal potency, Yogamaya. And then in square brackets, when Sri Krishna stole the gopis' clothes, he informed them about those future nights, which all came together as this exquisite divine night. So yesterday we read Sridhar Swamipad's commentary and Srila Jiva Goswami's Vaishnav Toshani. And now today we are reading Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura's Sarata Darshani. We already read this with Bhanu Swami's translation, but I wanted to start over again and reread these coming from my Gurudev's Hindi edition. This is published by Vichitra Didi. Okay, so Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura's Sarartha Darshani. I offer obeisances to Shri Ram, Shri Radharaman, my Diksha Guru, who is filled with supreme divine love, to Shri Krishna, that's Shri Krishna Charan, my Param Guru, and to Ganga Charan, that's Krishna Charan's Guru. I then bow down to Srila Narottam Das Thakur and to his Guru, Sri Lokanath Goswami, and also to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After prostrating again and again before my Sri Guru, my Diksha Guru Sri Radharaman, I offer pranam to Sri Krishna, the ocean of mercy. I take complete both Lokanath Goswami, who protects and nourishes everyone, and Sri Shukadev Goswami, who is as brilliant as the sun and who dissipates the dense darkness of this world with the light of knowledge. I offer myself and everything in my possession in the service of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, who is the possessor of all potencies, Sarva Shaktiman. Hey, there should not be an A at the end of that. And who is much dearer to the charming young gopis than millions of their own lives. Furthermore, I also offer myself to the servitude of his beloved associates. Now I will describe the crown jewel of all of Sri Hari's pastimes, the Ras Leela. This is described in 5 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, which are likened to the Bhagavatam's 5 vital airs. All victory to that Ras Leela. Shri Lakshmi Devi, who resides in the topmost realm of Vaikuntha, was denied entrance to this pastime. Yet Shri Krishna gave the Vraj Gopis the good fortune to participate, even though they reside in this earthly realm. This 29th chapter discusses the intense showering of the flute's poison-like sound on the gopis, who are like chatak birds, which drink only rainwater during the Swati Nakshatra constellation. It also describes Shri Krishna's playful verbal exchanges with the gopis and his disappearance. On the dark moon night of Kartik, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, then aged 7, enlightened Sri Nanda Baba and the other Gopas regarding the doctrine of karma and stopped them from performing the sacrifice to Indra. The Govardhan festival took place on the next day, which was the first day of the bright fortnight, and on the following day, the Vrajavasis celebrated Yam Dvitiya, the day when sisters honor their brothers, with a feast on the bank of the Yamuna. Our GVP standard is that Vrajavasis is one word and capitalized, unitalicized. Sri Shukadev Goswami, the king of sages, did not mention the second festival, but we should understand that it took place. Thereafter, Indra became very angry and sent a ferocious rainstorm, replete with thunderbolts to destroy Vraj. Then, from the 3rd to the 9th day of this fortnight, Sri Krishna held Sri Govardhan aloft and protected the Vrajavasis. See, here it's spelled right. On the 10th day, in total amazement, the whole cowherd community discussed and conjectured about Krishna and his power. Then on Akadashi, it's a long A. Sorry, guys, I'm not really supposed to be proofreading this. I just can't help myself. Okay, then, the next day on Akadashi, Shri Krishna's Abhishek ceremony took place. At the end of that night, Varuna Dev's servant kidnapped Sri Nanda Maharaj, and Shri Krishna went to Varuna Lok to retrieve his father. On the full moon day, he gave the cowherdmen darshan of Brahmaloka. In this way, the autumn season came to an end. The following year on Janmashtami, he celebrated his 8th birthday. After that, on the full moon night of the month of Ashvin, he accomplished the crown jewel of all festive pastimes, the Ras Leela, the description of which starts with the words Bhagavan Api. Sri Shukadev Goswami uttered this first verse of the Ras Leela, Bhagavan Api, and then Rantu Manas Chakre, that's how it ends, in a unique style and with great sweetness. The word Api in the phrase Bhagavan Api suggests a special meaning. Bhagavan is full with 6 opulences, and he is self-satisfied because he is complete with all kinds of pleasures. He does not depend upon anyone else for his happiness. Even so, Api, the place, the time, and the persons stimulated his desire to engage in amorous diversions. The place for these amusements was the beautiful, enchanting Vrindavan. The time was the autumn full moon night, and the participants were the young Vraj maidens who, as the shelter, the alambana of Prem, were positively overflowing with love for Krishna. Bhagavan was enraptured by the topmost sweetness of all these 3 excitants and longed to engage in amorous activities. This is the meaning. This verse explains that when Sri Krishna saw the beauty of the autumn nights, which acted as stimulus, udipan, for him, he remembered what he had promised to the lovely Vraj damsels. In this regard, one has to understand that Sri Krishna desired to relish with his ears and all other senses the many charms of the millions and millions of playful, how do you say this word? Coquettish gopis. What's this mean? Oh. Anyways, I'm not sure. So he wanted to, that word's a little bit, I don't know, too much. Sorry. So he desired to relish with his ears and all other senses the many charms of the millions and millions of playful, coquettish gopis, who are the gemstones that fulfill desires for divine amorous love. He wanted to savor with all his senses their beautiful voices, their beautiful forms, their youthfulness, their fragrance, their sweetness, their cleverness, and expertise in dancing, singing, and playing musical instruments. Krishna himself is subjugated by the love of the Vraj gopis. So he wanted that they should, in turn, relish with their ears and other senses his sweet voice and all his other sublime attributes. 1 second. Let me see. Coquettish is flirty. Okay. Inspired by Krishna's Satya Sankalpa Shakti, his potency that makes all his desires come to pass, Yogamaya, who can make the impossible possible, was able to condense millions and millions of nights suitable for the romantic activities of the Raslila into one 12-hour night. And the phrase Ta Ratri Viksha, seeing those nights, the plural form Ta indicates all those nights, to which Sri Krishna referred to when he stole the gopis' clothes. The Bhagavatam mentions this further. Bhagavatam mentions this further on in chapter 33, verse 38. Brahma Ratra Upavrite, after one night of Brahma passed. Taking the general, well-known meaning of this phrase, this clause establishes the superiority of that remarkable night of Brahma. I just want to hear Śrīla Mataji's message again. Coquettish is flirty. Murti? I don't know what murti means. Sharadotpula Malika. The jasmine flowers were blossoming out of season during the autumn full moon. Kundas Raja Kulapater Iha Vati Gandaha. We are detecting the scent of the enchanting fragrance of his Kunda garland. That's in chapter 30, that's the next chapter, verse 11. And Reme Tat Taralanandi Kumudamoda Vayuna. The wind was carrying the fragrance of lotuses. That's in the 45th verse of this chapter. These statements reveal the miraculous beauty of Vrindavan at that time. The Kunda flowers were blooming out of season, and lotuses were blossoming at night, although they usually open only during the day. In this way, the appropriate time, place, and persons were simultaneously at hand to furnish the needed ingredients for the Raslila, namely the enchanting Vrindavan, the bright full moon autumn night, the superbly beautiful young gopis, and the youthful, lovely Sri Krishna himself. This favorable Kishore form, which turns the minds of even Cupid, was endowed with such extreme beauty that it seems like a direct manifestation of his desire to dally with the gopis. Okay, it means flirty. I got it. Flirting, like Sadalang glances. Got it. Okay, thanks. Śrīla Mataji. Bhagavan is self-satisfied. He is Atmaram, and all his desires are fulfilled automatically. Swata Purnakam. Should be a dot. N. Despite that, he showed the desire to dally with the charming Vraja maidens, Bhagavan Rantum Manas Chakre, because of his affection for his devotees, who were able to bring him under their control. The Lord is beyond the material plane. Nevertheless, he descends to this realm where he performs human-like pastimes. That is, he manifests his transcendental lila, which resembles ordinary human activity, and thereby increases the devotee's bliss. Bhagavan showed the desire to enjoy romantic affairs. By this, it is understood that this enjoyment was experienced internally, not externally. In the meeting with the gopis, Bhagavan fulfilled not only the yearnings of the Vraj Sundaris, but also his own inner longings. The phrase Rantum Manas Chakre uses the Atmanepad form of the verb, meaning the doer enjoys the activity. This indicates that Sri Krishna himself, who is the doer of the activity, also enjoys the fruit of the action. Again, Itam Bhuta Premano Vrajasundaryo. Sri Hari possesses such wonderful qualities that he attracts even the sages who are the personification of complete bliss and are naturally self-satisfied. Nonetheless, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna was himself allured by the Vraj Sundari's prem, which had such astonishing power that it drove him to engage in amorous intrigues with them. This demonstrates the super excellence of the Vraj. The Vishnu Puran explains that the Ras Lila took place during his early teenage years. Madhusudan, who removes all miseries, performed amorous play with the Vraj Sundaris nights during his Kaishor age. Sri Harivangsha also describes this. In compliance with his age, Sri Krishna respected his adolescence and romanced with the young gopi damsels at night. These two statements make it clear that Bhagavan fulfilled the purpose of his teenage years. Krishna complied with the inner purpose of his teenage years by dallying with the gopis, for the carefree amusements in his Kaishor age would otherwise not have been successful. The great authority Srila Rupa Goswami has written, partaking of amorous amusements in the Kunja, Krishna makes his adolescent years triumph. That's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1-231. This statement also proclaims the superiority of the beautiful Vraj maidens. To carry out his supremely sweet Ras Lila, Bhagavan manifested the special aspect of his great inconceivable potency that makes the impossible possible. In this way, he reconciled all of his activities, including those that have been described, as well as those that have been left unsaid. Yoga Mayam Upashrita. He took shelter of his own inconceivable internal energy, Yogamaya, to enjoy loving play with the gopis. This pronounces Yogamaya's immense good fortune. So tomorrow, on the auspicious disappearance day of Srila Haridas Thakur and Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Maharaj, we will read this verse 2 and read the commentaries by these acharyas. These three acharyas. All right, so now we're going, let me check the comments. Dandavat Pranams Papatarani Mataji and Ujjwala Prada Mataji. Dandavat Pranams. Yashoda Didi. Oh, okay, I need to control myself and not proofread while I read. Well, it's not necessary. I mean, it is nice to improve it for the next edition, but yeah, I need to control myself because it does break the flow. Okay. So now we're going to read this article that was published in The Harmonist. Which edition? It was published in The Harmonist in December 1931, volume 29 and number 6. And we also published it in The Rays of the Harmonist, our magazine, in Kartik 1998, and also online in 2013. So yeah, this article is amazing. Well, one second. Thakur Bhaktivinoda, a speciality of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's Vāṇī. His specific kindness to those engrossed in all kinds of mental speculation. We avail of the opportunity offered by the anniversary celebrations of the advent of Thakur Bhaktivinoda to reflect on the right method of obtaining those benefits that have been made accessible to humanity by the grace of this great devotee of Krishna. Thakur Bhaktivinoda has been specifically kind to those unfortunate persons who are engrossed in mental speculation of all kinds. This is the prevalent malady of the present age. The other acharyas who appeared before Thakur Bhaktivinoda did not address their discourses so directly to the empiric thinkers. They had been more merciful to those who were naturally disposed to listen to the discourses on the absolute without being dissuaded by the, how do you say this word, specious? Specious arguments of avowed opponents of Godhead. Specious means superficially plausible, but actually wrong. So, Śrīla Thakur Bhaktivinoda has taken the trouble of meeting the perverse arguments of mental speculationists by the superior transcendental logic of the absolute truth. It is thus possible for the average modern readers to profit by the perusal of his writings. I love this sentence. That day is not far distant when the priceless volumes penned by Thakur Bhaktivinoda will be reverentially translated by the recipients of his grace into all the languages of the world. The writings of Thakur Bhaktivinoda provide the golden bridge by which the mental speculationist can safely cross the raging waters of fruitless empiric controversies that trouble the peace of those who choose to trust in their guidance for finding the truth. As soon as the sympathetic reader is in a position to appreciate the sterling quality of Thakur Bhaktivinoda's philosophy, the entire vista of the revealed literature of the world will automatically open out to his reclaimed vision. Oh God, I love this. It is not possible to understand the message of Thakur Bhaktivinoda without securing his guiding grace. There have, however, already arisen serious misunderstandings regarding the proper interpretation of the life and teachings of Śrīla Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Those who suppose they understand the meaning of his message without securing the guiding grace of the Acharya are disposed to unduly favor the methods of empiric study of his writings. There are persons who have got by heart almost everything that he wrote without being able to catch the least particle of his meaning. Such study cannot benefit those who are not prepared to act up to the instructions lucidly conveyed by his words. There is no honest chance of missing the warnings of Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Those, therefore, who are misled by the perusal of his writings are led astray by their own obstinate perversity in sticking to the empiric course which they prefer to cherish against his explicit warnings. Let these unfortunate persons look more carefully into their own hearts for the cause of their misfortunes. So strong, huh? The personal service of the pure devotee is essential for understanding the spiritual meaning of the words of Thakur Bhaktivinoda. The editor of this journal originally started by The editor of this journal, originally started by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, has been trying to draw the attention of all followers of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda to this all-important point of his teachings. He's referring to himself. It is not necessary to try to place ourselves on a footing of equality with Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda. We are not likely to benefit by any mechanical imitation of any practices of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda on the opportunist principle that they may be convenient for us to adopt. The Guru is not an erring mortal whose activities can be understood by the fallible reason of unreclaimed humanity. There is an eternally impassable line of demarcation between the Savior and the saved. Those who are really saved can alone know this. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda belongs to the category of the spiritual world teachers who eternally occupy the superior position. The teachings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda cannot be accessed by hearing from someone who is not devoted. The present editor, referring to himself, has all along felt it his paramount duty to try to clear up the meaning of the life and teachings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda by the method of submissive listening to the transcendental sounds from the lips of the pure devotee. The Guru who realizes the transcendental meaning of all sounds is in a position to serve the Absolute by the direction of the Absolute conveyed through every sound. The transcendental sound is Godhead. The mundane sound is non-Godhead. All sound has got these opposite aptitudes. All sound reveals its divine face to the devotee and only presents its deluding aspects to the pure pedant. The devotee talks apparently the same language as the deluded empiric pedant, who had got by heart the vocabulary of the scriptures. But notwithstanding apparent identity of performance, one has no access to the reality, while the other is absolutely free from all delusion. Those who repeat the teachings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda from memory do not necessarily understand the meaning of the words they mechanically repeat. Those who can pass an empiric examination regarding the contents of his writings are not necessarily also self-realized souls. They may not at all know the real meaning of the words that they have learned by the method of empiric study. Take, for example, the name Krishna. Every reader of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda's works must be aware that the name manifests himself on the lips of his serving devotees, although he is inaccessible to our mundane senses. It is one thing to pass the examination by reproducing this true conclusion from the writings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, and quite another matter to realize the nature of the holy name of Krishna by the process conveyed by the words. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda did not want us to go to the clever mechanical reciter of the mundane sound for obtaining access to the transcendental name of Krishna. Such a person may be fully equipped with all the written arguments and explanation of the nature of the divine name. But if we listen to all these arguments from the dead source, the words will only increase our delusion. The very same word coming from the lips of the devotee will have the diametrically opposite effect. Our empiric judgments can never grasp the distance between the two performances. The devotee is always right. The non-devotee, in the shape of the empiric pedant, is always and necessarily wrong. In the one case, there is always present the substantive truth, and nothing but the substantive truth. In the other case, there is present the apparent or misleading hypothesis, and nothing but untruth. The wording may have the same external appearance in both cases. The non-devotee may recite verses from the scriptures identical to the ones recited by the devotee, and the devotee may even apparently misquote something, but the corresponding values of the two processes remain always categorically different. The devotee is right, even when he apparently misquotes. The non-devotee is wrong, even when he quotes correctly the very words, chapter, and verse of the scriptures. Isn't this such an amazing article? The direct, unambiguous appearance of divinity. It is not empiric wisdom that is the object of it is not empiric wisdom that is the object of quest of the devotee. Those who read the scriptures for gathering empiric wisdom will be pursuing a wild goose chase. There are not a few dupes of their empiric scriptural erudition. I don't know what dupes means. Dupes means deceive, trick. Let's see. A victim of deception. Men who are simply the dupes of their unscrupulous leaders. Okay, a victim of deception. So there are not a few dupes of the empiric scriptural erudition. These dupes have their admiring underdupes. But the mutual admiration society of dupes does not escape by the mere weight of their number. Let me reread that. But the mutual admiration society of dupes does not escape by the mere weight of their number the misfortunes due to the deliberate pursuit of the wrong course in accordance with the suggestions of our lower selves. What are the scriptures? They are nothing but the record by the pure devotees of the divine message appearing on the lips of the pure devotees. The message conveyed by the devotees is the same in all ages. The words of the devotees are ever identical with the scriptures. Any meaning of the scriptures that belittles the function of the devotee, who is the original communicant of the divine message, contradicts its own claim to be heard. Those who think that the Sanskrit language and its lexicographical sense is the language of divinity are as deluded as those who hold that the divine message is communicable through any other spoken dialects. All languages simultaneously express and hide the absolute. The mundane face of all languages hides the truth. The transcendental face of all sound expresses nothing but the absolute. The pure devotee is the speaker of the transcendental language. The transcendental sound makes his appearance on the lips of his pure devotee. This is the direct, unambiguous appearance of divinity. On the lips of non-devotees, the absolute always appears in its deluding aspect. To the pure devotee, the absolute is self under all circumstances. To the conditioned soul, if he is disposed to listen in a truly submissive spirit, the language of the pure devotee can alone impart the knowledge of the absolute. The conditioned soul mistakes the deluding, the conditioned soul mistakes the deluding for the real aspect when he chooses to lend his ear to the non-devotee. This is the reason why the conditioned soul is warned to avoid all association with non-devotees. His teachings demolish the empiric method of approaching the absolute. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda is acknowledged by all his sincere followers as possessing the above powers of the pure devotee of Godhead. His words have to be received from the lips of a pure devotee. If his words are listened to from the lips of a non-devotee, they will certainly deceive. If his works are studied in the light of one's own worldly experience, their meaning will refuse to disclose itself to such readers. His works belong to the class of the eternal revealed literature of the world, and must be approached for their right understanding through their exposition by the pure devotee. If no help from the pure devotee is sought, the works of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda will be grossly misunderstood by their readers. The attentive reader of those works will find that he is always directed to throw himself upon the mercy of the pure devotee if he is not to remain unwarrantably self-satisfied by the deluding results of his wrong method of study. That's such an important sentence. I'm just going to reread that. The attentive reader of those works will find that he is always directed to throw himself upon the mercy of the pure devotee if he is not to remain unwarrantably self-satisfied by the deluding results of his wrong method of study. The writings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda are valuable because they demolish all empiric objections against accepting the only method of approaching the Absolute in the right way. They cannot and were never intended to give access to the Absolute without the help from the pure devotee of Krishna. We need more than just the books. We need pure devotee. They direct the sincere inquirer of the truth, as all the revealed scriptures do, to the pure devotee of Krishna, to learn about him, to learn about Krishna by submitting to listen with an open mind to the transcendental sounds appearing on his lips. Before we open any of the books penned by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, we would do well to reflect a little on the attitude with which, as the indispensable prerequisite to approach its study. I'm going to save this sentence. So good. It is by neglecting to remember this fundamental principle that the empiric pedants find themselves so hopelessly puzzled in their vain endeavor to reconcile the statements of the different texts of the scriptures. The same difficulty is already in the process of overtaking many of the so-called followers of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda for the same reason. Oh my God, boom. Sorry, let me just save this. Okay. Only the Absolute can give himself. The person to whom the Acharya is pleased to transmit his power is alone in a position to convey the divine message. This constitutes the underlying principle of the line of succession of spiritual teachers. The Acharya thus authorized has no other duty than that of delivering intact the message received from all his predecessors. There is no difference between the pronouncements of one Acharya and another. All of them are perfect mediums for the appearance of the divinity in the form of the transcendental name, who is identical with his form, quality, activity, and paraphernalia. The divinity is absolute knowledge. Absolute knowledge has the character of indivisible unity. One particle of absolute knowledge is capable of revealing all the potency of the divinity. Those who want to understand the contents of the volumes penned by the piecemeal acquisitive method applicable to diluting knowledge available to the mind on a mundane plane are bound to be self-deceived. Those who are sincere seekers of the truth are alone eligible to find him in and through the proper method of his quest. In order to be put on the track of the Absolute, listening to the words of the pure devotees is absolutely necessary. The spoken word of the Absolute is the Absolute. It is only the Absolute who can give himself away to the constituents of his power. It is only the Absolute who can give himself away to the constituents of his power. The Absolute appears to the listening ear of the conditioned soul in the form of the name on the lips of the sadhu. This is the key to the whole position. The words of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda directs the empiric pedant to discard his wrong method and inclination on, it directs the empiric pedant to discard his wrong method and inclination on the threshold of the real quest of the Absolute. If the pedant still chooses to carry his errors into the realm of the absolute truth, he only marches by his deceptive bypath into the regions of darker ignorance by his arrogant study of the scriptures. The method offered by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda is identical with the object of the quest. The method is not really grasped except by the grace of the pure devotee. The arguments, indeed, are these, but they can only corroborate, but can never be a substitute for the word from the living source of the truth, who is none other than the pure devotee of Krishna, the concrete personal absolute. The greatest gift. Thakur Bhaktivinoda's greatest gift to the world consists in this. He has brought about the appearance of those pure devotees who are, at present, carrying on the movement of unalloyed devotion to the feet of Sri Krishna by their own whole-time spiritual service to the divinity. The purity of the soul is only how do you say this word? Analogously. That means comparable in certain respects, typically in a way which makes clear the nature of things compared. Analogous. Okay. So the purity of the soul is only analogously describable, by the resources of the mundane language. Okay. The purity of the soul is only describable by the resources of the mundane language. It just gives some kind of idea, but like some comparison, but not really. The highest ideal of the empiric morality, the highest ideal of empiric morality is no better than the grossest wickedness to the transcendental perfect purity of the bona fide devotee of the Absolute. The word morality itself is a mischievous misnomer, which is applied to any quality of the conditioned soul. The hypocritical contentment with a negative attitude is part and parcel of the principle of undiluted immorality. Those who pretend to recognize the divine mission of Thakur Bhaktivinoda without aspiring for the unconditional service of those pure souls who really follow the teachings of the Thakur by the method enjoined by the scriptures and explained by Thakur Bhaktivinoda in a way that is so eminently suited to the requirements of the sophisticated mentality of the present age, only deceive themselves, and they only deceive themselves and their willing victims by their hypocritical professions and performances. These persons must not be confounded with the bona fide members of the flock. His prediction. The religious unity of the world. Thakur Bhaktivinoda has predicted the consummation of religious unity of the world by the appearance of the only universal church, which bears the eternal designation of the Brahma Sampradaya. He has given mankind the blessed assurance that all theistic churches will shortly merge in the one eternal spiritual community by the grace of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. The spiritual community is not circumscribed by the conditions of time and space, race and nationality. Mankind had been looking forward to this far-off divine event through the long ages. Thakur Bhaktivinoda has made the conception available in its practicable spiritual form to the open-minded empiricist who is prepared to undergo the process of enlightenment. The keystone of the ark has been laid. The keystone of the ark has been laid, which will afford the needed shelter to all awakened animation under its ample encircling arms. Those who would thoughtlessly allow their hollow pride of race, pseudo-knowledge, or pseudo-virtue to stand in the way of this long-hoped-for consummation would have to thank only themselves for not being incorporated into the spiritual society of all pure souls. That's so heavy. These plain words need not be misrepresented by arrogant persons who are full of the vanity of empiric ignorance as the pronouncements of aggressive sectarianism. No, this isn't aggressive sectarianism. The aggressive pronouncement of the concrete truth is the crying necessity of the moment for silencing the aggressive propaganda of specific untruth that is being carried on all over the world by the preachers of the empiric contrivances for the amelioration, the act of making something better, improvement. So for the improvement. Wait, let me reread this. The aggressive pronouncement of the concrete truth is the crying necessity of the moment for silencing the aggressive propaganda of specific untruths that is being carried on all over the world by the preachers of empiric contrivances for the amelioration, for the upliftment of the hard lot of conditioned souls. The empiric propaganda clothes itself in the language of negative abstraction for deluding those who are engrossed in the selfish pursuit of worldly enjoyment. But there is a positive and concrete function of the pure soul which should not be perversely confounded with any utilitarian form of worldly activity. Mankind stands in need of that positive spiritual function of which the hypocritical impersonalists are in absolute ignorance. The positive function of the soul harmonizes the claims of extreme selfishness with those of extreme self-abnegation in the society of pure souls, even in this mundane world. In its concrete realizable form, the function is perfectly inaccessible to the empiric understanding. Its imperfect and misleading conception alone is available by the study of the scriptures to the conditioned soul that is not helped by the causeless grace of the pure devotees of Godhead. Boom. So this is published in The Harmonist, December 1931, volume 29, number 36. Yeah, if any this magazine that we made a special issue on the 100th disappearance day of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and so you can find this. I can give you the link actually. It's number 26, Rays of the Harmonist, number 26. If you just type in Rays of the Harmonist, number 26 in Google search, then you'll find the free PDF. And it's just filled with amazing songs and articles. The Śrīmad Bhaktivinoda Dashakam. And then this second article is what we just read. The Monopishta of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura and the impediments to fulfilling it. This article by my Parm Gurudev, it's very technical, but also amazing. And then there's this article, The Life Precepts and Contribution of Satchidananda Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. This is from the Introduction to Jaiva Dharma by my Parm Gurudev. And then this is really awesome. This is Śrīla Bhakti Rakshak Śrīla Goswami Maharaj tells about a dream that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura had when he was wandering in the sky chanting the holy name, and he came upon the court of Yamaraj, where Yamaraj was sitting with Brahma, Narad, and others discussing this verse from Bhagavad Gita, Avichet Sudaracharo, and they weren't able to reconcile it. And so then they say, hey, look, there's a devotee of, there's a Mahapagavat devotee. He'll be able to explain. And so then Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura harmonizes the seeming contradiction. So that's a really cool one. Then there's this by Śrīla Prabhupāda, The Appearance Day of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. And then this song is really nice. Kota Bhakati Vinod Shri Kora Swajan. It's the same as Kabe Habe Bolo Shedina Amar. This song, same way you sing it. Then this article by Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj. Really nice. This one by Srila Trivikram Goswami Maharaj is so amazing. This is in Godrum. He's glorifying Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and he just breaks down crying, and and what he says is so deep. Explaining why he's Gaur Shakti Swarup. Then the essence of the contribution. What's this one? This one's by Gurudev, I think. Yes. Excerpts from 2 lectures. And then that's all the, and then there's another article by my Gurudev. And then the rest of this magazine has some of the really like prominent articles, especially Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. So Pratishtasha Parivarjan, Matsarya, Envy. These are all really important articles. Vaishnav Ninda, criticizing of Vaishnav, and Gauranga Samaj, the Society of Gauranga. Yeah, this article is revolutionary. And then this Kirtan, I translated this one. Shri Godram Chandra Bhajan Upadesh. One of my favorite Sanskrit stotrams. This one, Bhaja Godrum Akanana Kunjavidum. And then that's it. That's the magazine. We have one last song, Vrishabhanu Sutta. Yeah, so if you're able to, you can download this magazine. I'll show you how you can download it. Just go to, type in Rays of the Harmonist number 26, and then it will come up. There it is. Rays of the Harmonist number 26, and then you can download it. All right. It is 8:30 now, so I'm going to end here. But yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudev Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Shila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Shila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Shila Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Goswami Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Mahabhagavat Śrīla Gokshara Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Śrīla Saptan Goswami Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Bhagirati Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Abirbhav Titi Ki Jai. Titi Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai. Priyaya Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, dear devotees. All right, so I don't know if I'll get around to it, but I might come back online later today to read more articles by Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura or about Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and also sing some kirtans. But I don't know when. I have a lot of work to do today, but we'll see. Maybe in the evening time. All right. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you all tomorrow also for Srila Namacharya Haridas Thakur's disappearance day, and also the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And we'll read one verse of Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī, the second verse, to continue our program. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, Dandavat Lavangalata Didi. All right, Indira Mataji, Dandavat pranams, everybody else. Haribol.